Hopefully it shows up on the YouTube side. This thing's been acting crazy here lately. So
It
I
made me
can see it on the YouTube side. It's showing it to me.
okay, sweet. Well, we are live. Appreciate everybody tuning in this evening. Stone Guy 223. And we'll do some quick introductions from my left. We've got gun websites.
Hey, thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. And next to him, we've got Never Enough Ammo.
What's going on?
What's happening? And we've got two Smedgies tonight.
Double the fun.
That's what she said. Absolutely. So anyway, appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks for the panelists that showed up to participate. And we'll just jump right in here. So, as you may have read the title, Black Panthers on the Move. I try to. I tend to be a little naive, or maybe naive is a bad word. I am naive, but to a degree. But I don't follow the news very much. I tend to stay out of, mainstream media and what's going on. Anyway, I just, I'm not always up to speed like some people. I just try to. I really hate watching the news. So I know in past chats, you guys have been like, "Holy shit, you haven't heard about that? Where have you been?" And that's someone on purpose. But anyway, the reason I prefaced that statement was because I'm just now hearing about this Black Panther movement, and I don't know how long this has been going on.
You mean you don't remember like the '60s?
No. Yeah, it's been 50 years since I. No, it seems like there's a resurgence in the Black Panthers group, especially down in Texas. I just watched some things on InfoWars, and then just on, once I saw that, I started, searching out other media venues and just saw a lot of protest, a lot of their statements that I hadn't seen before. Some as recent as 2 days ago, where they were basically marching in the street with firearms, calling for the heads of police. Saying "oink oink bang bang," pigs in a blanket, and yelling and chanting, "What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want them? Now." And I was just taken aback. I was like, "Holy shit! Like, really?" And I understand the frustration of the black community because of certain things that happen. But they've interviewed some of the spokespeople for the Black Panthers, I guess the more articulate of the group, that can string a sentence together and kind of state what their intentions are, but it's completely opposite of what their actions are. So I'm having a real hard time with this whole thing. I think we can all appreciate the current climate of just the general public, and their views towards law enforcement right now. And I understand that because of certain things that have happened, but Jesus, this Black Panthers thing, man, it's scary. It's scary on so many levels, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it and get your guys' opinion. People in the chat, feel free to chime in, and I'll keep an eye on that and kind of tell me what you guys think, man. I mean, just I don't know. I just when you look at some of the protests that like Martin Luther King did back in his day, and how civil and organized and meaningful with a definite goal and a voice of reason. Martin Luther King was a very great spokesperson for the black community. I mean, he had, uh, you know, he just had a way of being able to articulate what they wanted to see happen. And I just think it's so far lost from what I would think that the black community wants to what's being portrayed by the Black Panthers of today.
How different is it than when we see the people marching in Chipotle with ARs and everybody gets in an uproar? As far as like them representing all gun owners, do people? I mean, I'm not going to defend anybody walking down the street shouting.
Well, the only difference I would say is that, as far as the Black Panthers thing goes, they do represent all Black Panthers. That is part of the doctrine. That is, they're coming out and that's I mean, they've been doing this for years. Saying we should go.
Represent who?
If you're a member of the Black Panthers, if he's specifically talking about the Black Panthers, they are. If you're a member of the Black Panthers, then you represent the Black Panthers very well, no matter how crazy you are. I mean, they're the ones that go out and make these speeches talking about they should, kill all crackers and kill white babies and not just one or two of them, but we're talking like the leadership. What's his name? Al-Shabazz. He's like the leader of the Black Panthers. I mean, that's who they are. So I mean, to me it is different because they will straight up come out and say that they support that stuff.
Okay, so then let me ask, because I can understand where you're seeing there's a difference, because I am one to advocate for the people that go open carry into Chipotle. I'm not against that.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase the question then. How different is the Black Panthers doing this ruckus than the KKK? They don't represent all white people, and they're going to go out there and say they do, and they're going to go out there and say some blasphemous shit, and then we wouldn't want anyone to suggest that the KKK represents all white people in this country or all white people together, right? So why would we assume that these guys hold any more weight with their community than the assholes in our community have in ours?
No, I don't think I don't think they do represent it. I don't think anybody's trying to say, hopefully, that they represent all black people or anything like that. But they do represent themselves, and they are a fairly large organization that, for some reason, unlike the KKK, rightfully so, by the way, where they deserve all the shit they get, the Black Panthers don't really get any crap from the media because they're afraid to piss them off. They fall in line with Nation of Islam, and Louis Farrakhan and those people, where it's almost like, well, just don't piss them off. We're not even though these are groups that have been investigated by the FBI and for decades now. So you're exactly right. It's the exact same thing. I mean, you're basically talking about black supremacists. Okay, that's what the Black Panthers are. Okay, they are the exact same thing that the neo-Nazis or KKK are, and they don't represent all black people at all. So yeah.
No, absolutely not. And I hope I didn't.
No, you guys didn't suggest, Stone. You didn't suggest that. I guess I'm just saying, how much weight do we give it when people criticize the KKK? I could give a shit when everybody criticizes the KKK all they want. You know what I'm saying? So if the Black Panthers out there raising a ruckus, if they only represent themselves and they're crazy, well then let their actions just define their repercussions. But to give it attention as if they represent more than the individuals they are, I don't think it.
No, I don't think it's about the.
Yeah, well, see, and I know it may sound, I don't know, prejudiced to say it like this, but with the KKK, and I'm completely against what the KKK stands for, wholeheartedly. But you're right, Matt. That's the KKK. In that group, they represent everybody who is in that club, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, they represent everybody that's in the KKK. They do not represent they do not represent the white community by any means. Okay, then you've got the Black Panthers that are a group and on the face, like, yeah, everybody that they represent the Black Panthers, but I also think they have a far more, they like reach further into the black community than the KKK does into the white community or the white supremacist blacks. You know, I mean, like, I think that the Black Panthers as a group have way more of a following in the black community than the KKK does in the white community, because their message is they're all pretty much on the same page, if that makes sense. Like, they're, you know,
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I
I
don't.
think the KKK is way fucking out there. Like, I think they're so far out there that uh,
Well, I mean,
whites
so is the Black
don't want to
Panthers. I mean,
be.
I don't think
Yeah,
necessarily. I mean, I don't know. The Black Panthers are out there. I mean, they literally get up, on there. These are the guys that were supposed to get arrested, and some of them actually did, and then got immediately released for on camera while the news media was there blocking off voting polls and not letting white people vote.
right.
And going. I mean, they're doing a lot of stuff. You know, and I don't. I mean, they're pretty out there. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I know percentage wise, what percentage of white people would go along with the KKK versus what percentage of black people would go along with the Black Panthers. I have no idea. I don't.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
I'm and honestly, let me clarify that that even having said that, I still believe that they definitely don't represent the whole black community, obviously, but I think that there's way more of a percentage of the black community that can get behind what the Black Panthers stand for, because of all the
well, now, yeah, with
the
what's going on.
tragedies that have exactly the
Yeah,
tragedies that have happened in their communities,
yeah. It would be the
and that's
same
what the
way.
Black Panthers are trying to.
It would be the same way as if all of a sudden there was, well, and this is the trick to it, right? Because it would be the same thing as saying, well, if all of a sudden there was a bunch of black people going around and killing a bunch of white people, at a certain point, people would start to then, because they're pissed off, they would be more inclined to start to, think, well, maybe the KKK wasn't so wrong after all because of how much is going on. The ridiculous part of that, of course, is that I mean, that does happen, but they just don't report it as much. But so I mean,
Well,
I get what you're saying
hold on
because
real
of what's
quick.
going on right now, because of what's going on right now in the media and the way cops are being portrayed and the things that have come up that they're with any group of people when things happen and it gets publicized in the media, whether it's true or not, you're going to have a certain percentage of those people go, well, hey, maybe these guys over here that are spouting off whatever they're spouting off are right. You see the same thing happen in the Muslim community. I mean, you can see it happen in any community. I mean, that
Right.
I
Well,
would say it's just timing more than it is that somehow the Black Panthers are worse than the KKK. It's just right now they're getting a lot of attention because of the way the media is portraying a lot of stuff that's going on right now.
yeah, and I definitely am not going to say they're worse than the KKK. I'm not gonna levy a best or a worst to either of those groups. But and just real quick, I wanted to, and I don't remember if this is the. I'm hoping this is a lady. It's by giving her name. I think this is the one that commented on last week's show. But Julia Com says the biggest problem I see is these few who are showing up and stirring trouble at the rallies. I'm assuming she means the Black Panthers. She says, I saw a video that showed 6 at a rally and were being told to leave by the people holding the rally. So again, I'm trying to decipher what she's saying. I'm thinking that she's uh, like saying that there were some people holding a rally in the black community, and Black Panthers showed up, and then they were asked to leave by the people holding the rally, in which case that would speak volumes to the, the, the facilitator of this rally that doesn't want that kind of negative, the Black Panthers at their rally, tarnishing what would otherwise be a productive, you know, rally to send, to spread a message, a method, yeah, a message of solidarity amongst the black community, and to try to bring attention to some of the egregious actions that are happening in their in their community. And I've got to admit, guys, I spent a lot of time today going through some videos online, different news sources, and and I know we've talked about this before, but I really, and I hate to use the word sheltered, but I purposely kind of shelter myself from the media and from the news, because you don't know what to believe, and it's really disheartening and sad. And so I try not to. I just don't fucking. I don't like the news. I don't like to like take in that stuff and make myself. You know what I mean? It's just sad. But anyway, so I watched a lot of videos today and saw way more shit that the police have been doing, being caught, called out, fired, way more than I ever realized was going on. Like, and I know it goes on. I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it, that we all know there's shitty cops, but I had no idea some of the things that are out there to see were going on. Like let's say, for instance, there was a thing in Fort Lauderdale. 4 officers were fired, and they had text message and video of the conversation between these 4 officers, and it was horrible. I mean, the saying, going to kill some niggers tonight, and talking about Hispanic people, and just, I mean, it was so offensive, and no wonder people think the way they do about law enforcement. And I understand that. I always knew that went on, but searching it out and seeing truly how much is out there to see, I was shocked. And I say that before because I'm quick to defend law enforcement as a whole, obviously, because I still think it's a small percentage that give the rest of us a bad name. But I can understand when you search it out, I can understand how, if someone did what I did today and just sat there and watched video after video of cops, shooting unarmed citizens, and just all the stuff that I absorbed today, it was disgusting. In a sense, it makes you, embarrassed to be a law enforcement officer, and that's just for me personally. And so I don't know, man.
Let me throw something out there so that you don't feel embarrassed, because I want to say thanks for your service first off, and everybody else out there, obviously the representation of all those guys and gals that are doing that. But I think just to put simple math on it, when you're saying that, I hear you. I mean, if you're going to sit there and you're one person and you've got X amount of hours, and if you can fill all those hours watching incident after incident, it might seem overwhelming. And if you've got agenda-driven messages coming to you that encourage that perception that it's constantly growing, then again, one person looking at even a trickle might interpret it as a flood. But let me just put quick math on it. If there's 50 states in this country, and I don't know how many police officers are in each state, it really doesn't matter, but if just one police officer did something horrible in each state, that's 50 incidents right there. And I don't know how much time you actually took, but if each of those incidents took 3 or 4 minutes to play out, we're talking about 50
Right.
times 3 minutes. So we're talking about literally hours and hours, and that would be if one police officer did one bad thing in each state just in one day. And we know that obviously happens more, but all I'm suggesting is we really got to look at how often, first, how many police officers are out there, how often they interact with us, the people that pay them and all that, and then you know, to put it in perspective, what percentage that really is. And I know that it's for the individuals involved, that's not an excuse, and it's definitely not an excuse for the behavior of, you know, people that are abusing their position of power. But I just want to make, again, it put that out there that it may seem overwhelming, but that's, you know, we're talking about massive, massive, massive numbers, and we're talking about incalculable numbers of times that law enforcement deal with the public in positive ways that everyone is immediately able to just ignore and forget. And those individual, you know, those specific times when horrible things happen stand out all the more because we don't appreciate the incalculable amount of times that they are benefit. So
Yeah,
thanks.
absolutely. And I mean, oh yeah, I mean, and I understand that, especially from a law enforcement perspective, you know, and that's why I said I've just never been exposed to, our in our area, our department doesn't have. I mean, we've had instances uh, of, of of questionable activities. I'm not going to try to say, we haven't, but for the most part, we definitely haven't had the kind of things happen that I saw on the internet today, and not to say that I didn't know that existed. Obviously, I mean that would be retarded for me to say, oh, I never knew that happened unless I saw it on, no, I know that happens, but there again, there's no other profession in the world that I can think of that so many are judged on the actions of a few or one. Like I said before, we don't blame all doctors when a shitty doctor, you know, does something wrong and accidentally kills someone because they,
Yourself, I blame them
you
all.
know, they were, they were negligent. You know what I mean? But somehow, the actions of law enforcement officers that do the wrong thing get all law enforcement tagged as a bad guy. And like I said, it takes, you know, I definitely have more appreciation for people, you know, and we've been through this before. You all know me, but when I say civilians, I'm not. I'm just using that as a term to distinguish. But when I can appreciate more now the civilians that see the things on the internet and see the things on the news, and if that truly is their only exposure to law enforcement, I could see how that would severely taint or their perspective. And even from someone on the inside, it's still hard to believe that some of the things that happen, with law enforcement goes on. Like, to me, I just can't believe that some not even a law enforcement, just that a human being would do some of the things, and then add to that the fact that they are in a position of power and they do abuse that power. But with that being said, it still doesn't justify. It does not justify the Black Panthers and the groups like them that are calling for the execution of police officers. Good, bad, or indifferent, they don't care. They want to kill police officers just because they're cops, because they wear that uniform.
Let me
And
throw
that's the thing that, yeah.
on and you just interrupt yours.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you're good.
All right. I think though that I want to place blame where blame is due, and that's 100% on the media. Again, I agree with you that it's got to be depressing as crap if everything that you are told is a valid source of information is telling you that the police are out to get you. I don't care what subset of the population you are. That's not a good situation. However, I would place blame on the individual for one for being led. That's your fault on being led. Since that's not, we can't just leave it there theoretically. I place the blame on the media. I believe that, put tinfoil hat on if you want, but they have an agenda, and their agenda is at least to keep us pissed, at least to keep us watching for the next crap they're going to say. And one way of doing that is to to focus on all the awesome, cool stuff that we do as a country and all the awesome strides that we've made in areas like race relations and racism and all the other stuff that we've literally created. You know, we've started the conversations. We're not perfect and we haven't finished the conversations, but we literally started them on this planet, and we don't get enough credit for that. And the media, number one, doesn't see a way to they don't value that. They don't see it as a way to rally the troops, let's say, or to get their audience. Instead, and I think this is the tinfoil hat part, because all that legit not tinfoil hat in my mind, but the tinfoil hat part is when I look at the media as potentially driven by what, socialists or whatever the hell you want to call the people who do not value individual freedom. I don't care what name you want to put on them, but there's people that value individual freedom and do not fear their neighbors, and there's people that do not value individual freedom and do fear their neighbors. And the media, being in that second category, needs us to be constantly at arms with each other so that they feel at least a little bit in control. And I think that, like you're saying, the situation is not great, but I believe it's engineered to some extent. How deep you want to get into the conspiracy, I guess, is a matter of tinfoil hat talk. But I think that, again, it's the blame needs to be put on the media, because they're the ones that are fueling this thing. They've created it. There's always going to be somebody of some color who hates somebody of another color. I don't care if the whole world turns into Star Trek and we're all happy. There's going to be that one guy who, for whatever reason, or gal, is just a stubborn racist. And if the media only went to that one guy and listened to them, they could change the perception for lots of people, unfortunately, to make it look like there's a lot of people that share that view. So they can always find, in a country of 350 million people, somebody who's willing to kill a cop. Now, they're willing to yell in the street that they're going to kill a cop. Now, I suggest that if you took any of those Black Panther people, no matter how tough or gruff or whatever the hell the term that they like to use to say how bravado they are, you set them down on the Mexico border and ask them if they're going to say, kill the Mexican policeman. I don't think they have the balls to say that in a country that isn't free and that offers free speech. So it's real easy to get up and shout obscure or obscene shit that is going to get yourself attention if you're seeking attention in a country that isn't going to kill you or hurt you or even really do anything. In fact, probably martyr you or make you a celebrity for doing your crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? You don't see them doing that in other countries, because other countries, the police have deadly repercussions when they say that stuff. It's real easy to say that stuff when there's no results to your consequences to your actions.
Right. No,
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, go ahead, Smedgy. Go ahead.
all right. I was gonna say I think there's kind of two reasons why it seems like you're seeing more and more of this stuff. One, I agree with G-Web's tinfoil hat to some extent. They're pushing what the message they want to push. But the other part of it is just there's cameras everywhere. Back in the day, you might hear a story about something, but you don't have 12 different angles from a cell phone. Now everything gets recorded, and no one's going to put on CNN, oh, I got a traffic ticket today and the guy was really nice to me. That doesn't make news. So it's only when the bad ones, the few of them that there are, get thrown in the spotlight. And it's kind of like, it's confirmation bias. That's what they want to see, so they go and look for those types of things and put it out there.
Perfect, because exactly, if they only did stories of the police officer helping, going above and beyond to save little kittens from trees and babies from fires and stuff, we'd have a much different perception of them, right? Now, I don't expect the media to do that. I'm not encouraging them to do that, but I think the tinfoil hat side is that they choose to decide to make it all negative. They could just as easily decide to make it all.
Well, and that's the thing I've said, time and time again when we've had conversations, along the same, topic, is the fact that the media is to blame. The media is to blame in the sense of they perpetuate the feelings of like the emotion involved, because they exploit the activity or the situations. Like let me back up. Whoever, whether it be law enforcement or the thug gang member that created the situation in the first place, you know, for whatever reason, you know, and not just talking, where law enforcement is involved. I'm talking just gang, black on black crime, gang shootings, um, law enforcement that shoots, you know, the, the person that was the catalyst for the situation is to blame for being in that situation, right? Like for causing this situation. But the media is the one that takes it and exploits it and shoves it down our throats and keeps it in the limelight, keeps it in the in the headlines, front page, and that's where I place the blame on them, is the fact that they continue to like it's fits their narrative for what they think people want us, the ratings. Like I've said before, the news is not news, it's entertainment. They're there to sell the paper, get the most ratings, be the first to break the story, whether they have to lie about it or not, or misinformation. As long as they're the first to bring it to you, then that's that's their goal, right? So in that sense, I do think that media is extremely at blame for being that person or that entity that does bring such negative attention to the situation, and they never show the good stuff. And not only with law enforcement, because like you said, as a percentage, we have way more positive encounters with the general public than what you see in the media. Far more, you know. And so, but they're not gonna show that. They're not gonna report on, you know, the officer that saves a life or helps. I mean, there's so many examples I can't even think of, just normal of a cop that stops and helps someone change a tire. You know, we don't have to. I mean, no one has to do that, but you do that because it's a right thing to do. It's to serve and protect. It's serving your community. And the media never grabs a hold of that. They never show that aspect of law enforcement. They only show the negative, and that's the problem with people. If people are only exposed to that constant negativity that the media shows, then of course your perception and your attitude towards law enforcement is going to be swayed. All right, someone else talk. I get a drink.
Well, I'll disagree that the media is to blame because the media is funded by the people. Without people watching the media, they want to have advertisers, they want to be having income, they want to have funding to have those kind of, to play one card or the other, to play the race card, to try and get more viewers. The solution, I think, simple, is just for people to quit watching that sort of television.
Well, that people would stop watching that sort of television. That's kind of why they started doing the stuff they're doing, because it gets them better ratings when they can be all dramatic and everything's overblown, and that's why they do it. Well, half the reason they do it anyway. The other half is because it fits an interest, because there's no media outlet out there that's not biased to one side or the other of any given discussion, whether it's because of a corporation or they're just their agenda or politics or whatever.
But that's what we want, a free press. Otherwise, we would have propaganda machines run by the state or something.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying there's a better option, but it's par for the course. And unfortunately, most people are not. Most people will absolutely take what's put in front of them on the nightly news or whatever it is as gospel. Oh really? Oh okay. And it's unfortunate that more people don't educate themselves to understand the difference between, the message, what they need to know versus what the media might put out there, which is it's going to have bias to it sometimes. I mean, that's just the nature of the world we live in. So have you all heard anything about the stuff going on for tomorrow? And I know you put some links over here on the side chat, but I had heard some things. I hadn't heard exactly what, and I'd heard it from several different movements. And what is it? I've heard it from at least 4 different movements, and the one I've heard the most out of is this one you've got put over here in the side chat here, the "fuck your flag" movement. I'm not exactly sure. I know there's a few different ones. Isn't there like 2 or 3 of those out now? Or maybe I'm just associating the hashtags that they're using. And it's the people literally wiping their ass with the American flag.
Yeah, I saw something on YouTube about that, and I just turned it off.
And they're using a few different hashtags, and they're talking about something big is going to happen tomorrow. And then, of course, they're going to, I think, then it was Black Panther said something big was going to happen tomorrow, or of course, but
yeah, that's the thing with there's what they call chatter. You've heard that term, right? Well, there's supposedly a lot of chatter that the government's receiving, and that's only what they're telling us. Imagine the shit they don't tell us. And then there is a big, I guess, like like a blanket notice that went out to at least all law enforcement agencies in our southeast region, just to kind of be on a heightened state of awareness tomorrow, that they've had reports of threats, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Well, I know they've had, and they've come out and actually said it too. I mean, have you read the statement that they put out? That this organization actually put out? They put out a public statement.
The Panthers, the Black Panthers,
not the Panthers.
Shoot the police.
That Panthers haven't put out a public. I'm talking about specifically about tomorrow.
No, what organization put the statement out?
That's the "fuck your flag."
Oh, the Black Lives Matter put out the same message, basically.
They put out the same message because it was hard to tell. I mean, it's hard to tell because they hashtag it with all the same stuff. So sometimes it's hard to tell who it's coming from because they're all using the same hashtags when they put these statements out. But apparently, this is one specifically from their website. And I guess it's also mirrored on the Black Lives Matter website too. Which basically, I don't know if you guys read it or want to read it, but basically it's something along the lines of saying that they recognize that September 11th was when the imperial powers attacked their own citizens. Basically saying it wasn't Muslims, it was the imperial powers that did it, and they're going to acknowledge that, and that they're going to. It says they'll be burning American flags, Confederate flags, police uniforms, and all representations of organized evil and oppressive nations. They will be building a new nation for the people, and that this is an international movement and a day of unity for everybody to do this. Basically, is what they're saying. So that's the public statement. Now, of course, there's a lot of other people that are coming out that are saying they're a part of the organization and tweeting, stuff about killing cops and all this other stuff. So who knows? And normally you would blow that kind of stuff off, except for the fact that they actually have been killing cops. So it's at this point, it's one of those. For me, it's one of those things. It's hard to sit there and differentiate the BS from the fact, from the public statements, from what they really plan to do. Because you got all these organizations. They'll say one thing publicly, and then they'll say they caught them on tape, and this was somebody recorded last week a Black Lives Matter telephone conference that apparently somebody got on the phone conference and wasn't supposed to be there and recorded the conversation, and it was basically them talking about the cops aren't gonna stand up and listen to black people until they start losing some of their own. And they never actually specifically said let's go kill cops, but they pretty much all but said let's go kill cops. And that's straight from their the heads of their organization. So it's kind of hard to tell.
And that's the thing that's the thing I'm talking about. It's like when you got an organization,
or 3 or 4 organizations like we have
right,
now.
right, and you've got the appointed spokesperson that is saying one thing, and on the face or on the surface sounds somewhat reasonable. Basically, uh, they want they want awareness. They want law enforcement to be held accountable. They want some changes to be made by the legislation, the politicians, the government, which is all understandable and reasonable request or reasonable goals to have, right? No, I don't think anybody's going to argue with the fact that some things definitely need to change. But when they say that, that's one thing. But while the guy is speaking for this group, and in the background, the membership of this group is chanting, "Kill the police," oink oink bang bang, and that kind of shit. That's the part that just is so unnerving and so fucking retarded. Like I just don't understand how they. It makes no sense. And there again, like when we were talking the other week, where you've got this whole Black Lives Matters thing. You've got a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon of Black Lives Matter and using that hashtag to spread their hate.
Well, and that's one of those
way
things where
different.
it gets to be a. At what point does an organization take responsibility for what it created, whether or not it intended to create it? You know what I mean?
How do
You've
they
got
control it? How do you explain what's his name, Snoop Dogg, who did that unloading? I'm unloading. He wishes he could take that shit back, but he can't. Right? So how can the same thing happen in a different position where somebody puts something out there? I don't know what their position, it doesn't matter what their initial thing was, but you're suggesting it's somehow their problem to not be able to pull it back. I'm just saying you
No,
can't.
I'm just no, not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they've created something that spiraled out of control to the point that even some of them themselves, not just other people, have start. Like I said, they get busted on conference calls saying, that the cops need to start losing their own, and so they're obviously putting out enough of a message that it's inspiring people, and then you have an organization where it is just by its nature, it's very hard to determine. I mean, there's no membership list here. It's a movement to try. It's a movement the same way the Tea Party was a movement, and in fact even less so because the Tea Party actually had chapters, and at this point you've got, Black Panthers had chapters, but Black Lives Matter doesn't. At what point does it become the responsibility of the organization because they're putting stuff out there? They're getting busted saying things against cops and encouraging people that cops need to lose their lives so that they'll understand, what's going on. And so you just have this open door policy where then that just encourages other people to come in and say even more ridiculous stuff. And then you get somebody that actually does something ridiculous who's, a member of the organization. So at what point, that's what I'm saying, is at what point do you kind of just step back and go, well, shit, maybe the whole thing needs to be shut down versus,
Right, and
I'm not saying it's good because I don't think it's. I mean, I think it started in a misguided place, but I don't think it started in a bad place. You know what I mean?
No. I think the initial incentive. Well, the incentive, obviously, we all know what the incentive was, but the I think the intention. That's the word I was searching for. The intention was good, but it's it's lost its.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, it's like anything.
Right. But here's the thing. The thing that is so counterintuitive to a logical person is the fact that, and please don't take this the wrong way, because I'm not saying this is going to be any kind of justification when this happens, and I'm not saying if it happens. I'm saying when it happens. is the fact that these people, this organization, this current climate has put everybody so far on edge. It's done nothing to de-escalate the situation whatsoever. It has done the absolute opposite. It's put so many people on edge. You've got law enforcement that's being...
Sorry, you're talking about Panthers, right?
I'm sorry, say it again.
You're talking about the Black Panthers specifically, not...
Well, the Black Panthers in specific.
I think you're talking about all
they're
of them,
on edge. Well, all of them, but Black Panthers specifically.
Don't put me on edge at all. The bunch of actual individuals getting together and shouting anti-cop shit in the street, that gets me upset. But the hashtag doesn't.
Right. And that's and the thing about it is, and it would be one thing to be pissed and to show your disdain and for the cops and all that sort of stuff. We could appreciate that and understand it. The problem is they're acting on it. You know, they're shooting and killing police officers. They're targeting police officers, and all that's done is put law enforcement on a heightened state of awareness. It's put everybody on edge, and what's going to happen is more people are going to end up being killed unnecessarily,
right?
Because they've put everybody on edge, and so it's so far off. I think what the original intention of these groups were, you know, and it just doesn't make sense. Why, you know, it's like, don't shoot us, hands up, don't shoot, but we're gonna fucking kill you because you're a cop.
No, dude, you can't do that. There's no possible way you can do that. The people that were saying hands up, don't shoot were people that were upset about Ferguson, right?
Well, yeah, obviously, I'm just saying in general, the black community.
No, dude, I'm gonna put my foot down. I don't think we can say that because those were people that had not been a court case. It was all perception. Again, perception filtered through the media, and then you know, pumped to them with an agenda. And that's taken their statement then out of context and matching it with a bunch of assholes who are definitely extreme and who we have no proof at all had anything to do with the people, you know what I'm saying? So we can't say that.
Well, okay, I got you there.
And at one point they're saying that because if you're talking that day, that's us because we have to.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I shouldn't have used it, but I meant what I was doing. I was drawing a comparison. And maybe that was a bad example, but the fact of the black community as a whole wants law enforcement to, and I'm paraphrasing or being, this is a broad brushstroke of a statement, but they want cops to quit killing them, quit shooting black people. That's their Black Lives Matter, quit shooting black people, you know, and that's, you know, that's their mission statement, if you will, right? That was their whole premise for this, for a lot of the organizations that have come up and started up, and which is it's a great like message. You know, there are situations where black people have been killed unnecessarily, unjustly, uninstigated. And the black community wants that to cease, obviously, you know. But the way some groups have gone about it, and especially the Black Panthers, that again I think speak, even though they're an extremist group, I think there's a higher percentage of people in the black community that kind of are with them. They're approaching it in such a negative, counterproductive manner that they're going to do nothing but escalate the situation and ultimately cause, inadvertently, but they're going to cause more people to be shot and killed because of how they've got law enforcement on edge with their actions and their statements and their You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
I hear you, but I'm gonna just continue to insist that that nothing's written. This only happened as far as the idiots walking around the street shouting death to cops recently. So it could just as easily be the impetus for all these organizations that you're basically, I think, sounds like wondering where they are. It could be an impetus for all of them to rally around and actually have a specific thing that they can then focus on and say, this is not our opinion. Now here's our opinion. You know what I'm saying? If there's nothing for them to start with, then why would the whole entire public listen to one specific whatever church or group or community? But if that church or group or community has to come up and respond to such crap, then maybe there's something positive that could come out of this.
right, right. And I'm hoping, and I think that there's, there's I'm hoping that this does bring so much attention to the situation that maybe, and again we're talking a percentage, but maybe those percentage of law enforcement that would have acted a certain way would stop and think, let me figure out an alternative. Let me figure out a different way to approach this. And I'm not saying that we need to walk on eggshells with these people, but I definitely think that there's been enough situations that have gone on to where law enforcement as a whole needs to reevaluate their escalation of force. And so hopefully this will, it's a fine line. I speak from experience when I say it's a tough position to be in, to not know what the next move is by your suspect, to not know what their intention is, what they may have on them in their pockets, under their coat, But I also think that for a small percentage of law enforcement that has done, just the bad shit that we've seen, I think that they need to start to understand that there's alternatives instead of going straight to their gun. And I hope that this starts to change the attitude in general, and I hope that that we could all, not to be corny, but we can all get along and we can all start to see each person's side of the story. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Definitely.
but
I don't
anyway.
know. I don't want to disagree so much as also just say that, or just put it in perspective again, that this has happened in this country. Watts riots. This has happened in this country. Assassination of Martin Luther King. So I hear you that it's frustrating, but let's not lose focus that in other countries, blood would be on the streets already. Blood would be on the streets.
Sure.
So I'm not discounting the individuals who have, perished or had problems with whatever, but I'm just saying that it's not wholesale murder. And I hear you, but I just don't want us to lose sight that we are the best effing country on the planet. We have an environment where this can change positive, much more probably than it'll turn negative. It would take such
Right.
It only happened 3 times in this country that it's turned negative, right? Racially or whatever, and
Right.
much uncountable times that it's positive. So I hear you, and I think it's worth talking about, but I don't want to get unnecessarily provoked by one incident to somehow suggest.
Right.
And,
Well,
Where are
guys,
the statistics at?
statistics for.
I haven't seen any statistics. I haven't seen any of these Black Lives Matter people throwing up statistics like, more blacks get shot by white officers than black cops.
No,
I haven't seen any kind of statistics or proof or anything to try and sway anyone's opinion like I have.
They don't.
That's
They're not gonna throw up proof. They don't need to. They're using the same. They're using the
using
same
emotion.
tactics that the people who are the anti-gunners use, which is just to play on the emotion and to just start throwing stuff out there, and they don't care if it's right, they don't care if it's wrong, because the vast majority of people will just listen and go, "Oh wow, oh, okay," because
Yeah,
they don't check. Even in the world of Google, people don't check. So
Well, that's what I'm saying is that they're
st-
not doing that, so
right,
that
and
automatically should throw up red flags.
well, not necessarily red flags, but statistically speaking, it's the exact opposite. There are more Caucasian shot and killed by police officers than minorities. That's a statistical
It has to
fact.
be proportionally though, because there are more white people than there are black
Well,
people.
that's true as well. So I guess you need to figure out the math on that. But regardless, it is this is a conversation that we're definitely going to touch on again. This was set up to be 1 hour because the Yankee Marshal is about to start his chat. So I hate to cut it short because I feel like there's a lot more to talk about. But the good thing is there's always tomorrow, and we can do it again. So for everybody that tuned in tonight, I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the support on the channel. Thanks to the panelists that showed up. So we're gonna transfer to the Yankee Marshal for his chat now. So go over to the Yankee Marshal, and we're gonna continue over there. Maybe a different topic. We may talk about this. Who knows? Um, so again, thanks, guys. Real quick, we're gonna do the patch giveaway. So that is at gunchannels.com/DPG daily patch giveaway. And let's see, I'm going to pick someone from the YouTube side because they've been talking amongst themselves pretty good, putting up some good comments. So we're going to go with how about gunfire? Gunfire on YouTube side. So Gunfire wins the patch. Go to gunchannels.com/DPG. Fill out the little form there that Gun Website's made up, and we'll send you a patch out.
Thanks, Stone. That was a great show. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you. And again, guys, thanks for watching. And go over to Yankee Marshal, and we'll see you next time.